Hard surface modeling can be challenging to achieve using 3D software such as Maya. As a 3D artist, you must be familiar with clean topology and how to control edge flow. Also, to add more details, you can go through the difficult task of subdividing 3D object surfaces because it is time-consuming and not ideal performance-wise. Normals and displacement maps can facilitate that process by keeping the original subdivision and adding details not on geometry but on the texture maps when baked. There is actually a tool that works somehow the same way, developed for Maya by Wizix, and it is called Stampit. In this video, we'll take a look at it in more detail. First of all, the technique of storing data relating to 3D geometry into a texture is known as baking. This method typically involves using another mesh. In this instance, the first mesh's information is transformed to the second mesh's UVs and then saved as a texture. However, with Stampit, you don't need another geometry to transfer high poly data to low poly objects, and you don't need perfect UVs to bake high details either. Stampit provides a simple way to create stamps and apply them to 3D models using Othe. Stamps can be applied to any type of geometry. You can use them to add hard surface details to your models in just a few clicks. The plugin provides you with many different ways to bake various objects. The three most commonly used ways are as follows. Number 1. Baking with textures. This allows the user to bake an object with a texture on it and assigning a texture to an object in your scene. The second one is baking without textures. This allows you to assign a texture to an object after it has been baked. Thirdly, baking with all materials in one texture. This bakes every material on your object into one texture, which can be beneficial for texturing or baking complex materials. As mentioned in the beginning, this script can help add details to the geometry without having UVs. This will save you a lot of time, of course, especially when creating hard surface details. Once baked, you can see immediately the result on the geometry inside Maya's viewport. You may go through another baking process with normal texture, of course if you have already baked the map, but you need to have good UVs and render it to see the details in fine quality. With Stampit, you are able to bake quickly your model and then add stamps while you are inside the viewport. This will allow you to see the changes immediately without any rendering or scene preparation. Now we're going to talk about its workflow and some of its features. Stampit, like any other tool, has its own functionalities and a few conditions before launching it. It works better with organic shapes, and it requires a few subdivisions. Name your object properly and don't change it later. You will select the mesh and conform it by clicking on Conform that you find on Stampin window, and this will prepare the mesh for stamping. Stamping works by selecting faces on the mesh. Double-click on any stamp you like on the tool window, but you may not see the results immediately. For that, you need to light your viewport by clicking on the light option you find on the stamp shelf. The script comes with a few editing tools. By clicking on Placement, you'll be provided by a planar gizmo that allows you to place the stamp anywhere you want on the mesh surface. You can move it, rotate it, and scale it in the selected area, in addition to tweaking the intensity up and down. You'll be also able to edit the displacement when clicking on Displacement option, and you can do this from the window after selecting the mesh. You can increase the value of the stamp quality in the viewport or add more subdivisions for the Arnold's render. When it comes to shading, it is a bit tedious, but it doesn't prevent you from doing it. It can be applied to any stamped mesh. So how does it work? You select the mesh and restore the information by clicking on Restore, then you shade it and you click Apply to transfer the information. When it comes to baking, Stampit allows you to bake information as a normal map for external software. This is the case if you are aiming to do so, but you would need to unfold UVs in this case. If you are wondering, the script supports both Arnold and Redshift. On a side note, you are not limited to using only the alphas that come with the tool. With this option, you will be able to create a new alphas and load them to Stampit easily. And this is the case if you want more creativity when working on your projects. If you are interested in Stampit, you will find the necessary links in the description. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. You can also check some of our previous videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.